The year is 2025. The world watches in horror as entire cities disappear into spirals of fire and shadows. Amid this chaos, a mystery lingers. What could have sparked such a sudden and devastating global war? The narrative pulls back in time, taking us to 1989, where a seasoned detective named Arthur Belmonte finds himself entangled in a series of crimes as inexplicable as they are interconnected. But could these events be tied to a future catastrophe? One winter night, Arthur and his partner respond to a call on an isolated road where a car has crashed into a post. The driver, a woman in her 30s, is found dead behind the wheel. As Arthur examines her body, he notices 3 tiny puncture marks on her neck. These marks aren't isolated. 2 other people in the city were found dead with the same marks, as if an invisible thread binds these deaths. Could something, or someone, be leaving these marks as a sign? With questions mounting, Arthur and his partner visit the forensic lab, where the coroner confirms all 3 victims died in the same manner, with those tiny fatal puncture wounds. Yet, the origin remains a mystery. What could inflict such wounds, and for what purpose? The following day, a new alert sends the team rushing to a club, where a woman survived a similar attack. She describes her assailant as a young woman with intense eyes, wearing a blue hoodie. As she speaks, she touches her neck, feeling a sudden sting. Hours later, she's found dead, bearing the same marks on her neck. Arthur realizes this case holds dark secrets. How could such a frail-looking figure be behind these precise, ruthless deaths? And why do the victims seem doomed to die after encountering this mysterious young woman? Determined to solve the case, Arthur orders the city's officers to locate all young women in blue hoodies for questioning. But one question lingers. How far will this pursuit lead him? And what truths will he uncover along the way? By 2025, the world teeters on the brink of collapse, with the United States at the epicenter. The nation, once proud and powerful, is now deeply divided, torn apart by a political rift that seems irreparable. Recent elections have exposed buried wounds, stoked by fiery speeches, and a wave of nationalism that spread like wildfire. Each side accuses the other of betraying the nation's core values, and unity is but a distant memory. But how did this situation grow into a global threat? In a country where capitalism is seen as an infallible force, blind profit-seeking has turned politics into a spectacle. Corporate interests dominate the landscape, manipulating laws and silencing any dissenting voices. Political campaigns have devolved into battles of private interests, with millions of lives decided in closed boardrooms. In this environment, charismatic leaders have emerged, promising to restore national glory, fueling an already divided population. Meanwhile, as Arthur investigates the murders in 1989, he has no idea that those tiny neck wounds may foreshadow something much larger. Yet, the world around him begins to show signs of crisis. He sees people taking to the streets, inflamed by radical speeches, demanding a moral reform mixing supremacist ideologies, extreme patriotism, and open rejection of any worldview seen as subversive. One cold night, Arthur confides in his brother and fellow detective, Andre. Andre's words echo like a foreboding prophecy. People will fight for any promise of stability, Arthur, even if it's just an illusion, and that fight will come at a cost. In 2025, Andre's warning has become a tragic reality. Entire neighborhoods are now controlled by private militias, each defending its twisted view of order and justice. Streets once vibrant and lively are now patrolled by armed soldiers, ready to confront anyone who dares challenge the new norms. Corporations and militaristic leaders have aligned, while ordinary citizens live in constant fear. For Arthur, what started as an ordinary investigation in the 1980s is revealing itself to be part of a far greater and darker conspiracy. But can he uncover the mystery before events spiral into a catastrophe? Arthur's view of the case shifts when he receives a lead. A young woman was seen in an empty street wearing a blue hoodie, just as the survivor described. Determined to stop her, Arthur orders the police to search the city. Fear and paranoia grip the community as rumors spread of a killer in a blue hoodie. When Arthur finally spots the young woman, a chill runs down his spine. She seems eerily calm, almost indifferent. And when she notices him, she bolts, The chase takes them through dark alleys and abandoned stairwells, leading to a deserted train station. Arthur's partner gets close enough to confront her, but she overpowers him, disappearing into the shadows. Finally, Arthur corners her in the depths of the station, confronting her with his weapon drawn. The girl's words leave him speechless. She tells him that his pregnant wife is in danger and will die during childbirth. "Your daughter will survive," she says calmly, "but your wife won't make it." Arthur brushes off the prophecy, dismissing it as a twisted distraction. Yet, her tone is so unsettling that it haunts him. In a brief struggle, Arthur knocks a strange weapon from her hand, noticing its unique, unfamiliar design. Before he can examine it further, the girl stumbles onto the tracks as a train approaches, sealing her fate. Back at street level, Arthur learns that his wife has gone into labor. He rushes to the hospital, hoping it was all a lie. His daughter is born healthy, but his wife doesn't survive. Overwhelmed with grief, he recalls the girl's words. Could she have truly known? Months later, Arthur's partner finds a bullet lodged in the girl's hand. Arthur feels as if each detail pulls him further into a mystery that transcends time. It's now 1998, and 9 years have passed since Arthur's encounter with the girl in the blue hoodie. His daughter, now 9, is a bittersweet reminder of the wife he lost, and of the unsolved mystery. One chilly morning, on the anniversary of his wife's death, he and his daughter visit her grave, only to find fresh flowers already laid there. Disturbed, Arthur calls his partner and his brother-in-law, but both deny visiting the grave. He's about to question further when he receives an urgent call. There's been a murder with the same 3 puncture wounds on the neck as the victims 9 years ago. At the scene, he reviews security footage and feels a jolt. A figure in a blue hoodie appears briefly, her features obscured. His colleagues dismiss it as an imitator, but Arthur feels an uncanny connection. Determined, he reopens the case and sifts through old evidence, finding a small, overlooked key among the girl's belongings. Intrigued, he hands it over to his partner for investigation. The key's origin? A model of aircraft manufactured only recently, defying all logic. Arthur realizes that this mystery may go beyond natural laws. But what does this key represent, and how far will Arthur go to find the answers? In 2006, Arthur Belmonte lives with the same questions that have haunted him since that fateful night in 1989. He has left the police but could never abandon his search for the truth. Now consumed by a quiet obsession, he finally identifies a chilling pattern. The murders he investigated seem to occur in 9-year cycles, as if following a dark countdown. The only concrete clue remaining is the small key found among the belongings of the girl in the blue hoodie. The key that he now discovers belongs to a model of aircraft manufactured only last year. Determined to solve the mystery once and for all, Arthur tracks down the plane to which the key belongs, parked in a private hangar at the airport. One silent night, he breaks into the hangar, driven by an urgency he doesn't fully understand. When he enters the plane, the air feels heavy, as if time itself is distorted within the space. And then he sees her, the girl in the blue hoodie, intact, with no sign of the years that have passed. Arthur can barely breathe. How are you still here?" he asks, stunned. The girl, who now introduces herself as Sibyl, simply watches him with an expression he cannot decipher. Then, with a low, sorrowful voice, she reveals, "Because you asked me to be here, Arthur." As Arthur struggles to process her words, Sibyl begins to unravel the truth about who she is and why she has returned. She explains that she is his granddaughter, from a devastated future. In 2025, the world she knows is in ruins, consumed by conflicts and wars resulting from decades of violent ideologies and a divided society. According to Sibyl, the origin of this collapse begins in 1989, when an influential thinker, a charismatic leader named Alvaro, published a book that incited an irreversible wave of patriotism and violence. Alvaro's ideas inflamed society to the breaking point, leading to a war that destroyed cities and threatens the very future. She explains that she has been crossing time, returning every 9 years, to try to prevent Alvaro's message from spreading and to shape a different future. Each victim, each clue left behind, was a desperate attempt to prevent Alvaro's manifesto from ever reaching the public, which would ignite decades of chaos. Arthur feels the weight of the revelations as Sibyl shows him an old ring, marked with a symbol he recognizes. It is the ring that belonged to his wife, a family heirloom passed down for generations. This irrefutable proof confirms the connection, sealing the bond between them. He understands, with profound pain, that this entire mission has been an effort by his own bloodline to avoid a disastrous future, a sacrifice made in secret, without guarantees. Sybil then hands Arthur a letter explaining the final sacrifice needed to break the cycle once and for all. She needs Arthur to make a final decision, to allow the last phase of her mission to take place in 1989, without interference, so she can confront Alvaro and destroy the source of everything before the chaos begins. In the letter, she reveals that this is a one-way journey. To save the future, she must accept her own end. Arthur reads the letter in tears, his heart heavy. Yet he understands the sacrifice Sybil has chosen and knows that, as painful as it is, he must allow her to complete her mission. She embraces him one last time, asking him to take care of her mother, the woman who will one day become his daughter. And then Sybil vanishes, returning to 1989 to confront Alvaro and, in doing so, close the cycle once and for all. Suddenly, Arthur finds himself back in the year 2025, but the world around him is at peace. There are no signs of the destruction and war Sybil described. With a sense of relief and lingering sadness, he understands that Sybil's sacrifice was fulfilled and that the future has been saved. In that moment, he recalls her words and feels that, somehow, his granddaughter's love transcended time, leaving a quiet but powerful legacy for the world. Sybil's sacrifice is felt only by him, but deep down, Arthur knows she will always be remembered, not by the world, but by those she saved who will never know she existed.